In fact, there's always a question sometimes from young people. They've been told you can't get pregnant the first time you have sex. But the reality is that we women are interested in sex. We're more arousable at the time of ovulation. Males around us perceive that we're ovulating by scent. They have an elevated testosterone level. They're more interested in sex. And sex happens, and pregnancy happens. And people are surprised by, how did that come to be? But the awareness that we're different. To know also that we women are very conditionable at the time of ovulation. This is some media effects research, and they had shown an erotic movie to women who were ovulating, and all of the women had an erotic response to this movie. They showed the same movie to women at other phases. We have different stages of our cycle. We have the follicular stage when the little follicles on our ovaries are developing. We have the ovulation stage when one of the follicles breaks loose and the ovum is released in our body. And then the last stage is the luteal phase, when the little place on the ovary where the ovum was released becomes a major chemical factory, keeping the ovum alive to see if there is a pregnancy. And if there is, then keeping the baby alive until the baby builds its placenta. But this awareness here that during ovulation, we're arousable. They showed the same movie to a group of women at these other phases, and there was a consistent response, but it was that it was basically a very stupid, dirty movie. No erotic response. But the woman who saw this film once during ovulatory phase had an erotic response showing the movie. Now, again, at any point in her cycle. The anthropologists talk about the fact that this is perhaps why, if we have sex with Mr. Wrong when we're ovulating, we now are hooked to Mr. Wrong. We all know that Mr. Wrong leads to Mr. Wrong number 2. So this awareness of how this give and take, this dance, if you will, between men and women is so important. And it's so critical that we as women and men understand there's a lot more going on in our bodies than we've ever been told, so that we can, A, make really good choices about this. Do I want my body to be changed by this male? If I'm going to have sex with him, I am going to be changed by him. And we don't even know what some of the long-term consequences of this are, but we know that she's absorbing the material. And, how do I want to live my life? How do I want to be changed by my partner? What consequences might there be if I make these choices where I have, repetitive sexual partners? We don't know what some of these long-term consequences are. We do know, for instance, that the woman who has multiple partners in a short period of time may develop an infection that's called bacterial vaginosis, which is a very serious infection. And what happens is that the chemistry of her genital area has been changed, and now the bacteria that can grow there are what are called anaerobic bacteria. Those are always serious infections. Again, what we think is simple, what we think is without consequence, in fact has serious long-term consequences. And, the more I learn about this, the more I'm in awe that nature, God, has built us in this way to be complementary to each other, that we truly are changed by our partner and really become one in terms of this.
Thank you, Vicki.